The first ones abandoned Azeroth unfinished. A raw world soul became N'Zoth's first harvest. As Shara's pact blackened beneath Leviathan tendrils, Sargeras turned on the Pantheon, blades unsheathed. Pact reality, the answer blackened beneath lies in the Leviathan abyss where tendrils Azeroth's heartbeat is held captive, screaming Sargeras turned on the Pantheon. The void left by unsheathed dragons bite Tyr's severed hand, still clutching Galakrond's fang became the anchor. A sacrifice unfinished, unspoken, a forged where raw world gods were soul became absent N'Zoth's first harvest. Reacha what drowns when Galakrond and why does his sacrifice still bind watchers dare not Azeroth? Pact reality, the answer blackened beneath lies in the Leviathan abyss where tendrils Azeroth's heartbeat is held captive. Who is the watcher who lost his hand to Galakrond and why does his sacrifice still bind Azeroth? Tyr, the Pantheon's sentinel, sealed the first cosmic prison with blood and titan steel. His missing limb is not a wound, but a keystone. The Pantheon did not kill the old gods, they caged them, and Tyr's hand became the lock. What price does eternity demand? The Watcher's mandate was forged in that fire, their duty etched into Azeroth's trembling bones. Yet chains rust, the aspects watch, the abyss whispers. And the hand that died to stop a dragon still grips the world's throat silent, unbroken, waiting. The chains Tyr forged still hum with a dying god's breath. Galakrond, elder than the stars, coiled through primordial tides unstoppable, unbound. Tyr's hand, cleaved by dragon teeth, became the anvil for Azeroth's fate. No titan's blood was spilled, no mountain cracked, a pact shattered, a limb lost. The void where his hand once was became a gate, a wound, a keystone. The Watchers did not choose this burden. They inherited a hand's absence, a wound etched into the world's bones. Their mandate, to guard what Tyr's sacrifice Seela dragons, gods, the breath of chaos itself. Galakrond's skull, buried in time's bedrock, pulses with defiance's memory. The aspects, born from Tyr's broken alliance, now circle like sentinels blind to the chain that grips their throats. What does it mean to win a war when the victor's hand is ash? The Watchers do not weep, they are the echo of a titan's final gasp. The price of Azeroth's sleep is a silent hand, still clenched, still bleeding eternity. How many ages must pass before the chains rust through? Before the dragon's song rises, and the throat that was saved begins to choke. The sea still whispers his name. Tyr's hand, cleaved by Galakrond's fangs, did not fall. It hung pulsing, defiant as the Pantheon wove it into chains. A binding not of flesh but of fate, the primordial's song fractured. The world's spine straightened. What price does eternity demand? Tyr's arm became the first shackle. His pain the mortar. The Watchers did not slay the old gods. They buried their voices beneath strata of starlight and sorrow, a cage of living will. Galakrond's bones did not rot. They slept, encased in Tyr's sacrifice. The Watchers inherited his burden, to guard what could not be killed. To stand where the world's breath grew thin. No blade could match that task, only vigilance, only the weight of a hand lost to the deep. The Pantheon named Tyr their champion, yet victory left no triumph. His hollow sleeve hung like a monument. Every Watcher who followed bore his shadow. Their mandate was not to rule, but to atone. For the old gods do not die, they wait, and waiting things hunger. How many cycles has Tyr's relic endured? The chains hum, the deep throbs. Azeroth's soul trembles at the edges of its cage. The Watchers do not sleep, they cannot. To falter is to let the primordial's song rise again, to let the world's throat choke on its own salvation. Dread is their creed. The gravity of a single hand, lost and reforged. The question no Watcher dares ask, when the chains crack, will the dragon's bones stir? Or has the price already been paid? The astral plane fractures under the weight of Tyr's grip. His gauntlet seizes the chain still warm with titan-forged fire, its links humming a hymn only the dead can hear. Galakrond's maw parts a void of starless hunger and the Watcher does not flinch. This is no battle of strength, this is a covenant. The chain bites into the dragon's scaled hide, and the old god's roar splits the sky like a blade through time. Tyr's hand begins to burn. Not with pain, but with erasure. The chain does not bind Galakrond, it absorbs him, threading his chaos into metal, into Tyr's own sinew. The Watcher's fingers, once whole, now crumble to ash. Bone and magic fuse where the chain meets flesh, a bridge between creator and prisoner. The stars above dim as the first cosmic prison seals. What remains of Tyr stands, hollow-eyed, his right arm a skeletal relic fused to the chain. The Pantheon does not applaud, they see what he has done, a soul made conduit, a life made sacrifice. To imprison is to become the prison. The Watcher's mandate is etched not in words, but in Tyr's severed hand, a warning, a blueprint. The dragons of Azeroth will rise again, their bones will stir. But Galakrond's prison holds, for Tyr's sacrifice is not just his own. Every Watcher who follows feels the phantom weight of that lost hand, the echo of a choice that bound not a god but a people, to watch, to wait, to bear the silence of a duty that outlives its reason. The aspects circle distant, their vigil unspoken, even they do not claim this burden. The Watchers are not heroes, they are the price paid in flesh for a world that forgets its debts. And in the void where Tyr's hand once was, something humps a song of chains, of titan fire, of a dragon's rage trapped in the marrow of a man who became more than stone. The stars remember, the stars always remember, but the stars do not weep. But to understand what came next, you must understand what Tyr gave up. His hand, then his flesh stone unmade by a dragon's bite. The curse of flesh did not fall from the sky. It spilled from his wound, a titan's blood turned to mortal tears. What does a god become when he chooses rot over ruin? Tyr's silence speaks. The stars remember, the stars do not weep. Tyr's hand fell, Galakrond's fang remained. The Watchers bore his scar across Aeonsuntal, the scar became a wound. The curse of flesh did not grant life, it stole eternity. Titan-forged spirits, once unyielding, now bled, aged, died. Loken's betrayal at Ulduar did not shatter the Pantheon, it cracked the foundation, chains loosened, whispers seeped. What does a sacrifice become when its purpose frays? Tyr's hand, fused to Azeroth's bones, now aches. His name, etched into the world's soul, now bleeds. The Watchers count their losses, not in wars but in breaths. Each century one more fades. Their mandate, once absolute, now fractures like Tyr's own broken vow to hold the line. Did the stars weep when his hand fell? No, they dimmed, they remember. Galakrond sleeps. The prison holds, but the cost, it bleeds still. Tyr's name is not spoken in Ulduar. Loken's shadow coils there, a serpent in the gears. The highborn empire built on Titan bones now crumbles. Its architects never knew their towers stood on a wound. The world soul forgets little. It remembers Tyr's hand, the chains. The curse, the silence of a god who chose rot for a world he would never walk. Azeroth breathes, the Watchers watch, and the cost. It waits patient in the marrow of every mortal heartbeat. The bones of Tyr lie in Tyrhold, a citadel of frozen resolve. Cold stone cradles his remains, each fragment a shard of the man who bled his hand to Galakrond's fang. The air there hums with a silence older than the mountains, a silence that aches. This is no tomb, it is a keystone. His marrow does not rot, it binds. The Pantheon, in their hunger for order, wove his essence into the sinews of their prison, a cosmic chain forged in the crucible of his death. The Watchers were not born of Tyr's will, but of his wound. When the Titan's hand fell, severed and smoking, the Pantheon seized it. They carved his sacrifice into law, a template for sentinels who would stand between chaos and the fragile dreams of mortals. Yet what they built was no monument to virtue, it was a mirror. The Watchers manned that eternal vigil, unyielding obedience chose Tyr's own entombment. Their eyes, those hollow sockets of divine iron, do not see, they enforce. Every command they obey is a chisel strike against the soul they once might have had. Order, the Pantheon declared, was salvation, but Tyr's bones whisper a truer truth. Order is artifact, not birthright. The prison they crafted does not protect. It imprisons all who touch it. The Watchers, bound to their posts, are both jailers and jailed. Their chains are Tyr's legacy, a paradox of protection and corruption. For every troll they slay, every war they quell, the cost gnaws deeper. The marrow of Azeroth, once a wellspring of wild magic, now thrums with the static of imposed stillness. Mortals feel it in their bones, a tension, a yearning for the freedom Tyr died to cage. What becomes of a god who sacrifices his hand to save a world, only to become its cage? Tyr's final act was not a triumph, it was a transaction. The Pantheon paid him an eternity, and he became the price. His bones do not rest, they watch, they weigh. And in the shadow of Tyrhold, where the wind howls through cracks in the stone, the Watchers stand, not as champions, as ghosts of a choice that will outlive the stars. The chains forged in Tyr's blood still the frost of Northrend, their black iron humming with a silence that is not peace. Beneath the dragonblight skeletal peaks, Galakrond's bones, rithesplintered ribs piercing glacial soil, a heartbeat in the earth where none should be. The aspects once shackled by the same chains that bound Tyr now stir. Their wings cast shadows over shattered temples, and the air reeks of ozone and ancient scales. Did the dragon's death birth this rebirth, or merely delay the collapse of the sky? Xal'atath's ascent was no quiet ascension. The war within split the world's sinew, and from the rifts seep whispers older than the Titan's footsteps. The Watchers feel a tremor in their hollow chests, the mandate they swore to etched anew in trembling hands. Tyr's sacrifice was never an end, it was a hinge. The dragonblight winds carry more than snow now. They carry the scent of marrow and thunder. The aspects return not as guardians, but as questions without answers. And in the void where Tyr's hand once gripped his blade, something else waits, the shape of a choice, sharpened by centuries, ready to cut again. The Watchers stand. Not as champions, as ghosts of a choice that will outlive the stars. Tyr stands beside Sargeras, both bound by duty, one to the light, one to the void. The Pantheon's design was never perfection. It was a dam, and dams crack. Galakrond's fang in his palm, the wound never healed. A reminder, order is not salvation, it is a cage. Tyr's chains hold more than dragons. They bind the hunger in every heart. The Watchers do not fight chaos, they become its mortar. Did the light demand this? Or did Tyr carve his faith from the void left by loss? His hand fell, his purpose rose. The bones of the Leviathan sleep beneath Azeroth, they will wake. They always do. The eternal conflict is no myth, it is the breath between beats. Sargeras burns to purge, Tyr bends to contain, one seeks oblivion. The other endures it. The Watcher's mandate is not choice. It is the echo of Tyr's final act, a door barred with his own sinew. And what is a god without his hand? A relic, a threshold, the light's artifact, the void's hostage. Tyr's sacrifice was not an end. It was the beginning of a prison without walls. Azeroth thrives, the Watchers watch. Their duty is not to save, to judge. To hold the line where order forgets mercy, and in that silence the old hunger waits, always. Tyr's severed hand, etched in the chronicle, whispers, asterisk, to bind the chaos, I became its chain. Asterisk, the Watcher's mandate endureth not as law, but as wound. Azeroth's world soul pulses beneath their vigil, the cosmos' most coveted prize, its heartbeat the silent drum in their hollowed oaths. No blade could fell Galakrond. No storm could still his hunger, but a hand, torn from its master, could carve a cage from the void's teeth. Tyr's sacrifice did not end the war. It became the war. His absence is the chain that drags the Watchers forward, their judgment a shadow of his final act. They do not speak of him. To speak is to unravel the thread he spun between stars, thread that now holds back the gnawing dark. Azeroth trembles, the old hunger stirs. And in the silence the Watchers stand, their duty carved not in stone, but in the ghost of a hand that once dared to hold the sky. The cosmos breathes, the chain holds, and somewhere a dragon sleeps. The chain holds it, but chains rust, and rust invites fracture. What wakes when the Watchers' bonds break? The Pantheon's fall was no accident, it was a reckoning. The Void Lords, patient as starlight, hunger for the cracks. Tyr's sacrifice bought time, not victory. How long before the sleepers stir, before the sky forgets its chains? The answer lies